Brentford won, Arsenal won. Wow. Arsenal came to this game to chase dominance and control. But guess what? Brentford said no. Brentford resisted Arsenal so much to the point that Arsenal were very, very lucky to have had a draw in that game. The full 90 minutes were full of pressure from both sides, but more pressure on the Arsenal side, which actually led to the 1-1 draw. Now, in this video, I'll be analyzing the reasons why Arsenal had a poor runs, in that game with Brentford, and the reasons why Arsenal could not dominate, Arsenal could not control the game. But before we go on, let us look at the stats for that game to be able to give a headline, of what was actually expected and why things went south for Arsenal. Now Arsenal had a total shot of 7, and then only 2 on target. This is troubling. It's troubling. Hold that thought there. Brentford had a total shot of 11, and then 3 on target. What does that tell you? It tells you that actually it was Brentford that actually controlled the game, dominated the game, and then pushed Arsenal so much hard. And that is a very big problem for Arsenal because this has given a very wrong signal of Arsenal title chase. A problem that we really need to unravel. However, Arsenal is still occupying the first position with 57 points, followed by closely Manchester City. And that's where the problem comes. We've said this severally that the moment Manchester City begin to close in on Arsenal, problem is looming. Big problem is looming. Now, let's dissect this game properly and then be able to look at why Arsenal, had this poor run, like I said earlier. One factor I noticed was the fact that Arteta gambled with his tactics. Yes, and you can trace this to his formation. For me, what was Eze doing in that particular game yesterday? For a long time, Eze had a lot of bad runs. He's not being informed. He's not been doing very well. Why do you use him? Arteta gambled this particular game yesterday. He gambled with his tactics. He gambled with his formation. Now, if you look at the back line too, Mosquera could not contain that Thiago guy, the striker of Brentford. No. That Thiago guy actually, pressured the young lad so much to the point that he made a lot of mistakes. That was one. Secondly, too, Henkapi and Gabriel partnership with this same Mosquera guy didn't work yesterday, which is Arteta actually gambled with his tactical formation yesterday. What was wrong with Saliba? Why was Saliba not used? Because there is no known injury case of Saliba. Why was he left, not to be in this particular game? So Arteta actually has to take the blame on this. And then I also noticed that Rice was playing more deeper. He was not actually supporting an attack, which means Brentford guy was actually pushing them so much. So it was very obvious that yesterday Arteta failed his tactics completely. Second point that I also noticed too, which is very, very disturbing too, is the fact that Arsenal players were playing tired all through. What is going on? What is going on? This is a very wrong signal. You can't play tired at this moment. Now, this is the peak of the game. The season is ending. You need to grab all these points as much as possible. Don't forget that Arsenal is still going to play Man City. Arsenal is still going to play Chelsea. Arsenal will still going to play Liverpool and Manchester United. So this is a very big problem for Arsenal. Let me wear my cap for Arsenal first of all. So the problem now is the fact that Arteta needs to sit up. He needs to do a lot of things to be able to correct this situation. Now, the third point I feel that actually affected Arsenal yesterday was the fact that I think the pressure from Man City, coming close to Arsenal gave Arteta serious hits, to be honest with you. Because if you look at that game yesterday, Arteta even looked confused to some point, His subs could not make any more difference. Mentality that Man City is coming close. That pressure that Man City is coming close actually gave Arteta a lot of hits and he could not stand it. Arteta had to bow to pressure yesterday. In fact, Arsenal was so lucky because if you look at the statistics of that game, you notice that man called Thiago of Brentford had a lot of misses. If that guy had taken those chances, or more, there would have been a lot of problem for Arsenal. Very big problem. Now, the other side of this same situation is that why I feel Arsenal is getting everything wrong. Is the fact that I hope what I'm sensing is not true. If it's true, the title race is over for Arsenal. If you look at other big four, of course, we refer to them now as small four. You notice that, man, they're actually not doing well. These are not doing well because they had bad moments. They had downtime, earlier in the season, which they are still recovering. They've not recovered. The only team that had a downtime and recover fast was Manchester City. That is why I keep saying that what Pep sit down saying, the so-called top four or big four, traditional four, which is referred to now as small four, cannot sit standing. Yes, Pep had a downtime. You know what he did? He rejigged. He had to reinforce his defense because the problem was coming from defense. He brought in a guy to support defense, and defense has picked up. He felt that, oh, I don't need to rely so much. Let me reduce the reliance on Haaland, on Foden, and then Cherky. He brought in Semenyo to reinforce the attack. That is how an organized team, that is how a coach who sees what others are not seeing do. The reason is why he's very top notch now and he has picked up form again. You see, Arsenal has never faced this situation since this season. I hope he's not driving that way. If he's driving to the fact that Arsenal is dropping form, there will be a big problem because they are dropping form at a very wrong time. Ateta, I urge you to rejig. Look at where you're having problems. Look at your tactics. Stop gambling. Stop gambling with your tactics. Ateta, stop giving us any reason to believe that you are not going to get this title because it will be a very bad one for you. Remember, Arsenal has invested so much money in your team. They've given you all you want. You have no option than to win. Arsenal got a shock of their life because they thought Brentford was going to play a blue block. But guess what? Brentford attacked Arsenal from start to finish. And Arsenal was lucky to have a draw in that particular game. That's what it is with this particular Brentford Arsenal game. See you in our next video. Bye.